Hello and welcome, fellow page tours. Welcome to the weekly update. It's where I talk about what I've been reading, what I'm going to read, what I won't get to, in a review. Yes, that's right. I'm going to start off the episode this week with a review. I mentioned this before in my past updates, but we will get to that here in a second. Thank you for joining me, and I know it's a little bit late this week, but I wanted to get this out before the release of this book. The book I'm talking about is All That We See or Seem. This is a Julia Z novel by Ken Liu. And I was asked by Ken Liu's publisher probably 4 or 5 months ago if I was interested in receiving an arc of this book. And after reading the Dandelion Dynasty, which is one of my favorite fantasy series, the second book, especially Wall of Storms, is one of my favorite, maybe top 10 all-time favorite books. How could I say no to that? So I received a physical copy, and I've been reading it slowly over time. With all the reads I have, it's tough to squeeze things in, but it's something that I've been reading off and on. To get into a synopsis for my own synopsis for All That We See or Seem, this is a book about Julia Z. She's an orphan hacker, and she finds herself, she's kind of a mess. And she lives in this reality where it's not too far off. I don't think it's this reality where technology plays a huge part in our lives. And there's AI assistance for just about everything that we do. It's a surveillance state. You can't really go anywhere without being recorded. And it's not too far off from where we are here. There's lots of nods to dangers of technology, privacy, social media, giving away your privacy. There's technology, giving yourself to technology. And there's a specific technology in the book that kind of kicks everything off, which I won't get into detail because I think I try to, whenever I do a review, I try to make it as spoiler free as possible. I like to go into things blind, so I don't like to spoil too much. But there's a technology that's used in the book that's pretty. I hope they hope they were able to make this happen one day. But it reminds me a little bit of the technology in Strange Days, kind of. It's a science fiction thriller, and Julia finds herself mixed up in a missing persons situation, and from there's unlikely alliances. There's some there's there's this cat and mouse game. There's use of technology on her adventure, and it all culminates into some conflicts, and it's a page turning thriller. It's a pretty fast read. If you're a fan of Ken Liu and you're expecting something like the Paper Menagerie or Dandelion Dynasty, it's very different. It's a whole different kind of world that you're introduced into. There's not a ton of world building, of course, because it's our world. It's not far off. So there's not a ton of world building. We do have some character development, but a lot of it is plot driven. A lot of it is her use of technology to kind of manipulate things, to MacGyver things, to get the upper hand and to stay alive and out of trouble, in essence. And there's some found family stuff going on, and so that's the gist of the book. Now the book, like I said, is very different. It's a thriller, it's an adventure. It's nowhere close to anything like the Paper Menagerie of the collection of short stories or the Dandelion Dynasty. So it's very different. It's a departure. This is a book that it seemed as though it was written for an adaptation. I got the feeling there's some scenes in the book that would fit well in a TV show or a movie. Sometimes some of the sequences can get a little repetitive. So sometimes I felt like it seemed a little much. Like there was a lot of solving problems through hacking, through technology, through manipulation, that sort of thing. And there's lots of interactions that she has with someone that she's working with that just seemed like it would fit well in an adaptation. And that's not a knock on the book, that it's made, it seemed made ripe for adaptation, but sometimes it's not always the funnest to read, especially in like a page turning thriller. It does bog down the kind of pace. Sometimes the pace felt like it was picking up, and then we were placed into like this mini game or like this mini quest, like a side quest that kind of derailed the pacing a little bit. It's not like a perfect book. It's not a 10 out of 10 for me, but it is if you're a fan of thrillers, science fiction, it is thought provoking. I did find myself nodding my head during some of the moments, during some of the some of the segments that, like social media, AI, technology or kind of explored, and none of it is on the nose. A lot of it is just with the flow of the story and in the plot. So it's not like Ken Liu came in with an agenda that he's wanting to get a message across. It's there. It's woven into the plot, but it's not beating you over the head with what, kind of what it's trying to convey. At least that's what I picked up. But that I'm jaded as hell, so that just may be me. This book is available today, the day that I record this podcast, October 14th, 2025. So it is available right now. It appears that this is a book one in a series that we will get more novels for Julia Z. And while I feel like she's an interesting character, I'm interested to see how she will carry a series, because like I said, the character, we do get background, she does get some development, but I'm curious to see where we go next with it if this does become a series. But if there's anyone I have faith in, Ken Liu is one of those authors that no matter what he writes, I'm going to read whatever it is. I'll dive into whatever it is because I think Ken Liu's a brilliant person, and I will read whatever he writes. So I'll be on board. But like I said, if you are looking for a change of pace, if you're normally reading fantasy or horror or whatever, this is definitely a good change of pace and will get you out of a slump if you are on fantasy overload or on overload of some genre. I was feeling pretty burnt out in fantasy while I was reading this, and it was a nice escape to get away from that, kind of repetitiveness of a certain genre. And that's not to bag on fantasy. It's just any genre that we read over and over and over again, we can get burnt out. So thrillers, I don't know if you can get burnt out on thrillers. Maybe I should try. I don't know. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's someone out there who loves thrillers who's saying, yeah, I'm burnt out on thrillers. So anyway, this book is available today. If what I described to you sounds interesting, go check it out and give it a read. See what you think about it. So that was my impromptu review for All That We See or Seem by Ken Liu. And I will have a written blog up here in the next day or so, a poorly written review on the blog that, I kind of have to be in the right mindset to write reviews and to kind of have it all spell out. I'm not good at writing reviews, but I do try. Speaking of reviews and on the blog, there's lots of people there who can write reviews and are always posting really great reviews. So go check that out on pagechewing.com. I have a great little team that we have there where, if we get any kind of review requests, we always share it and someone jumps on or not. So it's a nice little team there, and I'm lucky to have some really brilliant people. Most, people like Tim Hardy, author Tim Hardy, the Brotherhood of the Eagle, he writes reviews there. Thomas J. Devins writes reviews there. We have Sue writes reviews. So there's lots of I don't want to start naming names because I'll forget a name and then I'll feel like shit after. So there's lots of great, everyone there is fantastic. So go check it out, and you can probably skip over mine. Don't do that. But yeah. Anyway, getting into what else I've been reading, I think, reading something like All That We See or Seem, and the next book I'm going to talk about, I really needed a break from fantasy. I didn't realize how badly I needed a break until I got into it. And so reading Malazan, it was starting to beat down on me a little bit. And, it's like I mentioned in past review and past weekly updates. Sometimes it just felt like work, and there's lots and lots of characters. There's so much stuff going on. Sometimes it just felt like, you know, it felt like homework. So I needed a break. I think we all needed a break. We will get back to recording later this month in October with the first, I think, chapters of House of Chains. I forget exactly the reading schedules on the forum if you're interested. But House of Chains is the next one. House of Chains was my favorite book reading the series last time, and that's where I think I started reading book 5 and I never finished it. So I'm really excited to read House of Chains again. It was, like I said, it was my favorite, and I really needed something to break up the read a little bit for me, because it was started. The last book was, the third book was kind of long, and it's exhausting. So it's a nice little break. The other book that I'm reading is something that I picked up for October, which is Negative Space by B.R. Yeager. This is a book I read 3 years ago that I don't remember why I picked it up, but I ended up reading it and I loved this book. I always rave about it being probably the scariest and most disturbing book I've read. And I've read some, anyone who's listening who knows me knows that I love the twisted stuff. I love the off the wall, disturbing stuff. So this was right up my alley back then. And I decided to give it another go because I remember I loved the book. I picked it up, and this last weekend, I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I took the book with me to the brewery, and I thought, well, I'll have a beer and sit and read. And I could not put this book down. I was just flowing through this book, and I really needed something to just get me back into like a rhythm of reading. It didn't feel like work. I just really love this book. It's about, for those who don't know, it's about a town with, there's lots and lots of people committing suicide in this town. There's a mysterious drug that's floating around, and we follow a group of teenagers who are abusing drugs. They're getting into trouble, and things get very dark. There's like some Lovecraftian elements. There's parallel universes. There's deals made with other entities. There's a bunch of crazy stuff going on, and it gets very disturbing. And each chapter is segments of like a POV of each of the different characters. So each character gives their perspective, and we get different perspectives, and we have to put it together on what exactly is going on. And you get different views of the same scenario from different angles, and it's kind of fills everything in. And I just, I'm not one for teenage stories like this, but this book is so well done. Like I said, I read it a few years ago, and then I discovered that it was, I noticed that the podcast episode discussing this book was just getting a ton of downloads all of a sudden. And then I came to realize over time, I think it's on the Amazon page, that it was viral on TikTok at some point. I'm not sure when. That explains kind of the jump in popularity. I'm not sure when that happened, but it turns out that it has a following, and it is a disturbing, horrific book. It's like a mind-bending, troubling book, and I love that kind of shit. So I am on board, and I am just plowing through this book. I think I'm halfway through. I'm on chapter 15, I think. So I was debating whether or not to break it down into podcast episodes or not. I think I'll just wait till the end of the month and do a whole kind of discussion for it. But I love this book. Probably one of my top 10 all-time books. Just really, really good. Probably my all-time favorite horror book. Very disturbing though, and not for the faint of heart. It has all the different warnings and all that stuff, so it's definitely not for everyone. But I just love this kind of stuff, so I'm plowing through it. Really, really enjoying it, and I'm just, it's so easy to read, and I just did not want to put it down. I even ran to the bookstore because I ran out of tabs. I didn't have any more tabs, little sticky tabs you put on pages. I went and got a bunch of tabs, and I've been tabbing the shit out of that book. So I love it. So yeah, That's what I'll be reading this coming week, and I'll have this done before the end of the month for sure. Just because I don't think I've said that enough yet. Anyway, Negative Space. If that sounds interesting to you, if you don't mind the dark and depressing and fucked up, then go check it out. So I always try to mention the comic of the week. My pick of the week last week on Panel Chewing was a book called Good as Dead. This is written by the Lamphams. I think it's a husband and wife, or they're partners. I'm not sure what their status is. They are a team that they write books together. They draw and write books. One of their most well-known books is Stray Bullets, and that is and Stray Bullets is one of my favorite comic book series. It's a noir book it's very character focused, lots of different characters, and one of my just brilliant book. Really, really good if you're looking for a good comic book to read that's not superheroes, which isn't like what I like to read anyway. But Stray Bullets, it's complete. It's a huge collection. There's been a couple of side books in the universe. All of them excellent. And anytime David Lampham writes something, I read it. It's just one of those things. So Good as Dead is about a small town, and there's a group of people. In one comic book issue, which is what you want to do in your first issue whenever you're writing a comic book, is to hook the reader. This first issue gets the conflict. It develops characters, develops interpersonal conflicts. It creates a town. It builds a whole town together. There's a problem in the town that has to be solved. And it also creates like a ticking time bomb or a ticking clock that the mystery has to be solved all in one issue. And that's really rare. It's just a very, very well done first issue. And I am on board with that book. It was Jared's pick last week, the week prior, and it was my pick. So really, really good book to start off with. And I have complete faith in the Lamphams that they know what they're doing. There's certain people that write that know what they're doing, and they are some of those people. Also, I believe I'll be finishing Berserk Volume 42 this week. I'm going to try and get something out before Sunday. We haven't caught up yet. It may be a solo episode because I really want to finish the Berserk. I've been re-uploading all the Berserk episodes, and we've caught up. So I want to get out Volume 42, even though we're a year away from getting Volume 43 probably. It's a long wait. And I've been kind of looking into other mangas. A couple of the things that I've been looking at is Leviathan. It's a science fiction horror book that I've been looking into. There's a few other ones. I want to try Blom again. I read the first volume and it kind of went over my head, but I want to give that one another shot. And, some other mangas. I really want to get more into manga because I feel like there's lots of great storytelling and the stories veer more towards you guessed it, the dark and disturbing. So I'm going to be looking into those. So the over on Film Chewing, we're doing the Oscars project. We're watching every Best Picture movie from 1960 on. And we just finished last week watching and discussing Kramer versus Kramer. A really great movie that was not at all what I was expecting. I expected a courtroom drama. It's about a married couple who have trouble, get a divorce, and then it's about a custody battle for their son. And it's not at all what I was expecting. I expected a courtroom drama. It was not that. It was very touching and very personal. Yeah, I was surprised how impactful it was on me. Just in general, really well done. Dustin Hoffman does a fantastic job in that one. And I think next up is Ordinary People. So we'll be watching that one next. I know I keep mentioning this crossed thing I want to do, and I have the blog post written. I haven't recorded the episode yet. I need someone else to read the blog post to make sure that I didn't miss something. Every time I go through it, I find more mistakes, and I really need someone else to proofread it for me. So after I do that, I'll be recording that one and posting that, and also the discussion I had with Jose, like I don't know how many months ago. I'll be posting that too. I figure closer to Halloween will be fitting. So I'm going to try and get that out this month after I record the episode and post that discussion in the same week. So there's something that I wanted to talk about. There's a couple of things that I had on my list. First thing is streaming services and how streaming services have changed the landscape of entertainment. And when Netflix first came on, it was the mail DVD thing, and that worked out really well. Then they started the streaming service, and everyone wanted to jump on because you had so many options for what was it, like $13, and everyone said, "Oh, it's cheaper than cable, and it's so much less expensive than cable." Over the years, as Netflix made so much, they were printing money. All the people who owned this material said, "I want a piece of that action," and they developed their own streaming services. So what started off as a couple of streaming services is now a streaming service for everything. It's all piecemeal. So now you're paying more than we did before. We used to pay for satellite or cable or whatever. Now we're paying more and getting less because we have to go here for this show and go here for that movie, and a pain in the ass. So it's just gotten out of hand. And I think these other services are starting to struggle because there's so many services and people aren't willing to pay it anymore. So it's really changed. Plus COVID changed everything because streaming services were all stuck and we had no choice unless you lived in certain states to get out. So, all of that changed everything. But now that people are going back out and, not confined, and I feel like physical media is making a comeback. There's some evidence that points to that. People are buying physical media again. People are, owning things, because when you have a streaming service or even on Amazon, when you buy a movie or a TV show or whatever, they can take it away from you at any point. It's not yours. You're leasing it. So I think more people are realizing that, and they have some comfort knowing if I want to watch The Office, I don't have to jump to every different streaming service to watch it. I own the physical copy and I can pop in the disc anytime I want, which I'm not a fan of The Office anyway, but you know what I'm saying. A lot of people are. So that's neither here nor there. So yeah, it's just changed the entertainment. It's changed the way we consume material, and it's changed a lot. It's become very, very frustrating. And I know I'm not the only one who thinks so. So another thing that I wanted to mention here was a quote that I've been thinking a lot about from the movie Fight Club. And I'm going to try to play it here in a second. Let's see if it'll work.
It's only after we've lost everything.
So it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. I've been thinking a lot about this. And, I heard that, Fight Club is one of those films that I really loved when I first saw it. I saw it in the theater a few times, and it really motivated me to try my best to be successful, or it motivated me to do things, to try my best and to try to succeed in whatever it is that I'm doing. And it was impactful for me at the time, very impactful, as it was, I'm sure, for a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't like the film, and that's fine. But this quote especially, it never really hit me until lately, that I've been thinking a lot about it. I want to get your thoughts on this. Is this quote true? And I never really understood it before, but now that, kind of my life has taken the turns it has, I wonder, is there freedom in having nothing and being able to start completely fresh again? Is that freedom, or is that, what is that? Is that, are you free to do anything after you've lost everything? Can you only do anything after you've lost everything? Is that a requirement? So I've been thinking a lot about that, and then whether or not that's true, and kind of framing it to my own experience and thinking, if you've lost everything, now you can do anything. There's nothing kind of, you almost have to do anything. You can do anything you want when you have nothing. So it's really made me think a lot lately, and just wanted to get everyone's thoughts on that, and kind of see what you think. Just think on it, and either on the forum or send me a message. The send fan mail link below, or in the comments section if you're on YouTube, and if you happen to watch or listen to this on YouTube. Let me know what your thoughts are. Just a quick note for the fan mail: I can't reply. So if you send a fan mail, it's one way. So if I don't reply to you, it's not personal. I just can't reply. But thanks to everyone always for the thoughtful conversation. I think that's it for this week. I think I've rambled enough. Thank you for listening as always. Really appreciate it. And if you'd like to contact me, the best places on our forum, pagechewing.com. Go check out the blog posts. Come and say hello. We have a nice little group of readers and authors there. Come and say hi. And we have lots of discussions always going on. I can't keep up with all of them, but there's always something going on there. I can't really make it to 90% of them, but there's all sorts of stuff going on all the time. So thank you again for listening. And I hope you're having a great week, and I hope to talk to you soon, and I hope you're having a great day. Thanks again for listening. And I always forget to cue the music on the way out. There we go. Anyway, thanks for listening. I'm a professional. I'll talk to everyone very soon.